The vastness of space, teeming with a myriad of alien civilizations, was a canvas upon which the Galactic Empire had long painted its dominance. From the towering spires of the imperial capital to the far-flung outposts that dotted the cosmos, the Empire's reach was seemingly limitless, its technological superiority and military might unparalleled. Yet, within this grand tapestry, there existed a small, unassuming world known as Earth, a backwater planet that the Imperial Command had all but ignored, dismissing its inhabitants as little more than primitive savages unworthy of their attention. Earth? Scoffed Admiral Vrax, his weathered features twisting into a contemptuous sneer. An insignificant speck, hardly worth the effort of conquest. Their so-called space program is nothing more than a pathetic collection of glorified tin cans, barely capable of leaving their own atmosphere. The other officers seated around the Strategium's holo table nodded in agreement, their expressions a mix of indifference and disdain. The notion that the humans could pose any sort of threat to the mighty Galactic Empire was laughable, a notion so absurd that it scarcely warranted further discussion. Our forces have more pressing concerns. Vrax continued, his gaze sweeping across the holographic displays that depicted the Empire's far-flung territories. There are rebellions to quell, trade routes to secure, and rival powers to subdue. Earth can wait. Its day will come, but not until we have dealt with more substantial matters. Unbeknownst to the Imperial Command, however, the young planet was quietly undergoing a dramatic transformation, one that would soon shake the very foundations of the Galactic Order. Driven by a burning ambition to assert their place among the stars, the humans had been channeling their limited resources into a covert military build-up, an endeavor fueled by a deep-seated determination to overcome their perceived weaknesses. At the heart of this burgeoning space program stood a young, ambitious naval officer, her keen intellect and unwavering resolve setting her apart from her peers. Admiral Amelia Norcross had risen quickly through the ranks, her tactical brilliance and innovative spirit earning her the respect and admiration of her fellow officers. Now, with the backing of Earth's political leadership, Norcross had been tasked with overseeing the development of the planet's fledgling space fleet, a force that, while still dwarfed by the massive armadas of the Galactic Empire, possessed a tenacity and adaptability that would soon prove to be its greatest strength. "We may be outmatched in terms of sheer numbers and firepower," Norcross remarked to her trusted lieutenants, her steely gaze fixed on the tactical displays that mapped the far-flung reaches of human-controlled space. "But we have something the Empire lacks, the boundless potential of our species. We will show them that Earth is no mere backwater, but a force to be reckoned with in the stars." As the young admiral's words echoed through the command center, a newfound determination took hold of her crew. They knew that the road ahead would be arduous, fraught with challenges and setbacks. But they also understood that the fate of their homeworld, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The stage was set for a confrontation that would forever alter the course of galactic history. The tensions between Earth and the Galactic Empire came to a boiling point as the Imperial forces, emboldened by their dismissive attitude towards the human world, began encroaching upon the edges of human-controlled space. Admiral Norcross watched the unfolding situation with a growing sense of unease, her brow furrowed as she studied the tactical displays that mapped the Imperial fleet's movements. The arrogance and disregard shown by the Imperial command towards Earth's capabilities only served to steel her resolve, fueling a burning determination to prove the worth of her species on the galactic stage. "They think we're nothing more than primitives, easily swept aside by the might of their armadas," Norcross murmured, her eyes narrowing. "Well, it's time we showed them just how wrong they are." Gathering her most trusted officers, the young admiral laid out a bold and daring plan. A surprise attack on an Imperial supply convoy that would serve as a devastating demonstration of Earth's military might. "This is a risk. I won't deny it," Norcross admitted, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew. "But the potential rewards far outweigh the consequences. If we can pull this off, it will shatter the Empire's assumptions about us, and perhaps even sow the seeds of doubt within their ranks." The human officers exchanged uncertain glances, their expressions a mix of anticipation and trepidation. They knew the stakes were high, but the prospect of humiliating the arrogant Imperial forces was a temptation too great to resist. "Admiral, you have my full support," Lieutenant Commander Zeo said, his voice firm and unwavering. "If anyone can pull this off, it's you." With a nod of acknowledgement, Norcross began to lay out the intricate details of the operation, her mind racing as she mapped out the precise maneuvers and calculations required to ensure its success. The human fleet, while still dwarfed by the vast armadas of the Empire, possessed a level of flexibility and adaptability that Norcross intended to leverage to the fullest. As the plan took shape, a tangible sense of excitement and anticipation began to permeate the ranks of the human forces. They knew that they were about to make history, to defy the expectations of their Imperial overlords and assert Earth's rightful place among the stars. The fateful day arrived, and Norcross's fleet, cloaked in stealth and silence, descended upon the unsuspecting Imperial supply convoy. The human ships, their advanced sensor suites and lightning-fast reflexes giving them a crucial edge, unleashed a devastating barrage of firepower that caught the Imperial forces completely off guard. Chaos erupted as the supply ships were torn apart, their crews scrambling in vain to mount a coherent defense. Norcross, her eyes narrowed in fierce concentration, directed her forces with a calm authority that belied the intensity of the engagement. When the smoke cleared, the human fleet emerged victorious, having inflicted crippling losses on the Imperial convoy. Norcross allowed herself a moment of triumph, a thin smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "This is only the beginning," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. "The Empire will soon learn that underestimating Earth was the gravest mistake they could have made." The news of the human fleet's devastating attack on the Imperial supply convoy spread like wildfire through the ranks of the Galactic Empire, shattering the arrogant assumptions that had long defined the Imperial Command's attitude towards the backwater planet of Earth. Within the stratagem of the Imperial capital, the gathered admirals and generals exchanged uneasy glances, their expressions a mix of disbelief and mounting concern. Admiral Vrax, the once dismissive architect of the Empire's Earth policy, found himself at the center of the storm, his weathered features etched with a deep frown. "Impossible," he growled, his fist slamming against the holotable, the display flickering with the impact. "Those primitive humans couldn't have orchestrated such a devastating assault. There must be some mistake, some flaw in our intelligence." But as the reports continued to pour in, each one more detailed and harrowing than the last, Vrax's denials slowly gave way to a growing sense of unease. The human fleet, led by a young and ambitious admiral, had not only inflicted crippling losses on the Imperial convoy, but had done so with a level of precision and coordination that belied their supposed technological inferiority. "This, Norcross," Vrax said, the name rolling off his tongue with a mixture of contempt and grudging respect. "She has turned our assumptions against us. We underestimated her, and now we must pay the price." The Imperial Command, once so confident in their superiority, found themselves at a loss for how to respond. Their initial plan to dispatch a token force to quell the human uprising had been rendered obsolete, replaced by the need to mount a far more substantial and coordinated military response. Across the galaxy, the news of the human victory spread, igniting a surge of hope and fascination among the oppressed worlds that chafed under the yoke of imperial rule. Whispers of Earth's newfound prowess rippled through the various seats of power, each one amplifying the growing sense of unease that had taken hold of the imperial leadership. "If the humans can do this to our supply convoys," one imperial governor muttered, "then what else are they capable of?" The young Admiral Norcross, hailed as a rising hero on Earth, recognized the opportunity that had been presented to her and her forces. With the Empire's attention now firmly fixed upon their planet, she began to devise a bold plan, one that would lure the Imperial fleet into a decisive confrontation, a battle that would cement Earth's place among the stars. "They have seen but a glimpse of our potential," Norcross said to her trusted lieutenants, her eyes burning with a fierce determination. "Now we will show them the full extent of our capabilities. The Empire will rue the day they underestimated the human spirit." As the human admiral's words echoed through the command center, her crew felt a surge of renewed vigor, their faith in their leader's vision unwavering. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril, but the prospect of humiliating the arrogant imperial forces was a temptation too great to resist. The stage was set for a confrontation that would forever alter the balance of power in the galaxy. The Imperial command, driven by a mix of pride and underestimation, dispatched a formidable task force to quell the upstart human rebellion. Confident in their technological superiority and the overwhelming firepower of their armada, the Imperial admirals scoffed at the notion that the primitive Earth fleet could pose any real threat. As the towering Imperial vessels made their approach, Admiral Norcross and her human forces braced themselves, their hearts pounding with a mix of apprehension and anticipation. The young commander knew that this was the moment they had been preparing for, the opportunity to shatter the Empire's arrogant assumptions and prove the worth of their species on the galactic stage. "Hold your positions," Norcross ordered, her voice calm and measured as she studied the tactical displays that mapped the enemy's movements. "Let them come to us." The Imperial ships swept in, their massive hulls casting ominous shadows over the comparatively smaller human vessels. Commanders on both sides barked orders, their crews scrambling to prepare for the inevitable clash. And then the first volley of fire erupted, the skies above Earth's orbit illuminated by the brilliant flashes of energy weapons and the thunderous roar of missile strikes. To the shock and dismay of the Imperial forces, the human fleet responded with a level of coordination and firepower that belied their supposed technological inferiority. Norcross's ships maneuvered with a fluidity and precision that left the Imperial commanders reeling, their advanced targeting systems unable to lock onto the elusive human vessels. "How is this possible?" Admiral Vrax growled, his weathered features etched with a mixture of disbelief and growing fury. Their weapons should be no match for ours. But as the battle raged on, it became increasingly clear that the humans were not merely holding their own, they were systematically dismantling the Imperial task force, inflicting crippling losses with each passing moment. Norcross, her eyes narrowed in fierce concentration, directed her fleet's movements with a calm authority that belied the intensity of the engagement. She had anticipated the Imperials' tactics, leveraging the humans' superior agility and adaptability to outmaneuver and outfight their technologically advanced foes. "They underestimated us," the young admiral murmured, a thin smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Now it's time we showed them the true extent of our capabilities." As the battle reached its climactic conclusion, The battered remnants of the Imperial task force were forced to retreat, their commanders shell-shocked and humiliated by the stunning defeat they had suffered at the hands of the human forces. Norcross stood on the bridge of her flagship, her gaze fixed on the retreating Imperial ships, a newfound sense of pride and determination swelling within her. The young admiral knew that this was only the beginning, that the Galactic Empire would not soon forget the lesson they had been taught this day. "We've gained their attention," she said, turning to face her crew, their eyes shining with a mixture of triumph and awe. "Now let's show them what else we're capable of." The stunning defeat of the Imperial task force sent shockwaves through the very foundations of the Galactic Empire, shattering the myth of the regime's invincibility and sparking a surge of hope and inspiration across the oppressed worlds that languished under its tyrannical rule. Within the Imperial command, the reaction was one of shock, disbelief, and growing trepidation. How could a backwater planet like Earth, with its supposedly primitive space forces, have so thoroughly outmaneuvered and outfought the might of the Empire's most seasoned commanders and advanced warships? Admiral Vrax, his weathered features etched with a mix of rage and grudging respect, found himself at the center of the maelstrom. The once dismissive architect of the Empire's Earth policy now stood before his peers, his reputation in tatters, as he struggled to make sense of the human fleet's unexpected triumph. "This Norcross?" Vrax growled, the young human admiral's name dripping with a mixture of contempt and awe. "She has defied every assumption we had about the capabilities of her species. Her tactics, her ability to outmaneuver our forces, it's as if she can predict our every move." The other Imperial officers exchanged uneasy glances, their expressions mirroring the growing sense of unease that had taken hold of the command. If Earth's forces, led by this young and brilliant admiral, could so thoroughly dismantle an Imperial task force, what else were they capable of? "We cannot afford to underestimate the humans any longer," one of the generals stated, his voice grave. "This victory has shaken the very foundations of our power. We must reassess our approach, marshal our full might, and crush this uprising before it spreads like a cancer through the rest of the galaxy." As the Imperial command scrambled to devise a more comprehensive strategy to counter the human threat, the name of Admiral Amelia Norcross became the subject of widespread fascination and fear. Across the Empire's territories, her exploits were spoken of in hushed, reverential tones, with even the most hardened veterans of the Imperial Armada expressing a newfound respect for the young human commander. "She's no mere soldier," one officer remarked, shaking his head in disbelief. "Norcross is a tactical genius, a master of warfare who has proven that even the mightiest of empires can be brought to its knees by the resolve and ingenuity of a single individual." The human admiral, once dismissed as an insignificant speck on the galactic stage, had now become a symbol of defiance, a beacon of hope for those who dared to challenge the Empire's iron grip. Her victory had ignited a spark that threatened to engulf the entire galaxy in a firestorm of rebellion and upheaval. As the Imperial command mobilized its full military might, determined to crush the human uprising before it could gain any more momentum, Norcross and her crew knew that the true test of their mettle was yet to come. But they also knew that they had already shattered the myth of the Empire's invincibility, and that the galaxy would never be the same. Shaken by the devastating defeat of its initial task force, the Galactic Empire mobilized its full military might, determined to crush the human uprising before it could gain any further momentum. The most seasoned Imperial commanders were dispatched to the human-controlled systems, their orders clear: annihilate the upstart Earth fleet and restore the Empire's dominance over the rebellious planet. The ensuing battles that raged across the contested regions of space were as fierce as they were evenly matched. The human forces, led by the indomitable Admiral Norcross, refused to be cowed by the overwhelming firepower and technological superiority of the Imperial Armada. Instead, they leveraged their innate adaptability, tactical ingenuity, and growing experience to offset the Empire's advantages. Norcross, her eyes narrowed in fierce concentration, directed her fleet's movements with the precision of a master chess player, anticipating her opponent's every move and exploiting their weaknesses with ruthless efficiency. Our human crews, once underestimated and dismissed, now fought with a ferocity and determination that left their Imperial counterparts reeling. They're not just soldiers. One bewildered Imperial commander reported back to his superiors. These humans move with a level of coordination and adaptability that is almost preternatural. Every time we think we've gained the upper hand, they find a way to turn the tables on us. As the conflict raged on, the human fleet became a symbol of defiance, rallying the oppressed worlds under the Empire's rule to rise up and join the struggle for freedom. Whispers of Norcross's exploits and the human force's unwavering resilience spread like wildfire, igniting sparks of hope in the hearts of those who had long resigned themselves to the yoke of imperial tyranny. If the humans can stand up to the might of the Empire, a rebel leader on a distant colony world murmured, then perhaps we too can find the courage to fight for our own liberation. Recognizing the growing threat posed by the human uprising, the Imperial Command resorted to increasingly desperate measures, deploying its most advanced warships and employing ruthless tactics in a bid to overwhelm Norcross and her crew. But the young admiral, her strategic brilliance sharpened by the crucible of battle, refused to be cowed. They think their technological superiority will save them, Norcross said to her lieutenants, a hint of grim determination in her voice. But they fail to understand the true strength of the human spirit. We will not be broken, no matter how great the odds against us. As the conflict raged on, the human fleet's exploits continued to captivate the galaxy, their feats of bravery and tactical mastery inspiring countless others to take up the mantle of resistance against the Empire's tyrannical rule. Norcross, her reputation as a legendary commander growing with each passing engagement, became a beacon of hope for those seeking to carve out their own paths to freedom and self-determination. The stage was set for the final, decisive confrontation, a clash that would forever alter the balance of power in the galaxy. As the conflict between the human forces and the might of the Galactic Empire escalated, Admiral Norcross and her crew found themselves at the center of a galactic struggle that threatened to engulf the entire cosmos. The young commander's reputation had grown to near-legendary status, her tactical brilliance and unwavering leadership inspiring awe and reverence across the oppressed worlds that sought to break free from the Empire's tyrannical rule. From the front lines to the highest echelons of the Imperial Command, Norcross's name was spoken with a mixture of trepidation and grudging respect. The human admiral had proven time and again that she and her fleet were no mere nuisance to be brushed aside, but a formidable adversary capable of shattering even the mightiest of the Empire's armadas. Yet, as the battles raged on and the human forces continued to defy the odds, the Imperial leadership found itself growing increasingly desperate. The deployment of their most advanced warships and seasoned commanders had done little to stem the tide of the human uprising, and the threat of the rebellion spreading to other worlds only heightened the sense of urgency within the Empire's ranks. Recognizing that conventional tactics were no longer sufficient, the Imperial Command resorted to even more drastic measures, unleashing a new generation of devastating superweapons in a desperate bid to crush the human forces once and for all. "They have pushed us to the brink," one high-ranking Imperial officer remarked, his features etched with a mixture of rage and fear. If we cannot defeat them through sheer force, then we will resort to whatever means necessary to ensure the survival of the Empire. As the news of the Imperial's new superweapons reached Norcross and her crew, a tangible sense of unease settled over the human fleet. They had faced overwhelming odds before, but the prospect of confronting these fearsome new weapons filled them with a sense of trepidation. Yet, even in the face of this daunting challenge, Norcross refused to waver. Drawing her trusted lieutenants close, she devised a bold and audacious plan. A daring infiltration of the very heart of the Imperial fleet, where they would strike at the most vulnerable point and cripple the enemy's devastating superweapon. They think their technological superiority will save them, Norcross said, her eyes burning with a fierce determination. But they have forgotten the true strength of the human spirit. We will show them that no matter how formidable their weapons may be, they cannot break our resolve. As the human fleet launched its perilous mission, the galaxy held its breath, watching with bated anticipation as the fate of Earth and the balance of power hung in the balance. Norcross, her crew's lives now resting squarely on her shoulders, led the charge with a calm authority that belied the intensity of the confrontation to come. In the end, it would be a clash of wills, a battle of attrition where the sheer determination and ingenuity of the human forces would be pitted against the raw, overwhelming power of the Empire's most devastating technological marvels. The outcome would determine not just the future of Earth, but the very course of galactic history. The human fleet, spearheaded by Admiral Norcross's flagship, plunged into the very heart of the Imperial Armada, its crews bracing themselves for the confrontation that would determine the fate of their homeworld and the balance of power in the galaxy. As they drew closer to the imposing silhouette of the Empire's newest and most devastating superweapon, a tangible sense of unease settled over the human forces. They knew that the success of their daring mission rested on the razor's edge, with the slightest misstep threatening to spell their doom. But Norcross, her eyes narrowed in fierce concentration, remained steadfast in her resolve. She had led her crew through countless battles, forging them into a cohesive, adaptable force that could overcome even the most daunting of challenges. And now, with the future of Earth and the oppressed worlds of the galaxy hanging in the balance, she was more determined than ever to succeed. "Stay focused, everyone," the young Admiral's voice rang out, calm and unwavering. "We've faced overwhelming odds before, and we've emerged victorious. This time will be no different." As the human ships closed in on their target, the Imperial forces unleashed a torrent of devastating firepower, their advanced weaponry lighting up the void with brilliant flashes of energy. But Norcross and her crew, their reflexes honed to a razor's edge, maneuvered through the onslaught with a fluid grace that left their enemies reeling. In a series of daring maneuvers, the human fleet infiltrated the very heart of the Imperial Armada, positioning themselves for a decisive strike against the superweapon's most vulnerable point. Norcross, her mind racing with calculations and tactical scenarios, gave the order to open fire, her crew's weapons unleashing a barrage that sent shockwaves through the Imperial command. The battle raged on, with both sides pouring every ounce of their skill and determination into the confrontation. But as the dust settled, it became clear that the human forces had emerged triumphant, their bold strike crippling the Imperial superweapon and leaving the enemy fleet in a state of disarray. Across the galaxy, the news of the human victory spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of rebellions and uprisings against the Galactic Empire's tyrannical rule. Norcross and her crew, their faces streaked with sweat and grime, stood tall amidst the celebration, their eyes shining with a mixture of triumph and profound gratitude. "We couldn't have done it without you," Lieutenant Winters said, her voice thick with emotion as she embraced her commander. "You've shown us the true meaning of courage and resilience, Amelia. You're not just our leader, you're our friend, our mentor, and the one who has forever changed the course of our lives." Norcross's lips curled into a faint smile, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew. "And you have shown me the true strength of the human spirit," she replied, her deep voice rumbling with a warmth that belied her fearsome reputation. "Together, we have forged a bond that transcends the boundaries of our species. This is but the beginning of what we can accomplish." As the news of their triumph echoed across the galaxy, Norcross and her human fleet became a symbol of hope and inspiration, living proof that the divisions between species could be overcome through unity, discipline, and an unwavering determination to triumph over even the most daunting of challenges.